Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. All right, welcome back to another episode of Giving Grief Grace. I'm super excited today because I have our original Giving Grief Grace small grief group joining me today to talk about their experiences. I think whenever you lose a loved one, it's important, we talk a lot about community in this space. Even if you've never met someone in real life, but you've met with them through a group like this, it can be life-changing and just nice to know that there's support outside of your immediate network. And so I'm so grateful to my longtime friends for joining us near and far tonight or today on the podcast. And so what I wanted to give everyone and listeners a little sneak peek into what a small grief group looks like. So how we start is I center everyone, we take a couple breaths together, and then I usually like to do a small reading. And Melanie Bietti has a book called Journey to the Heart, Daily Meditations on the Path to Freeing Your Soul. This is just a great book to read, and it helped me through my grief journey. And so I like to start with a little excerpt. And so today's reading is called the Learn the Art of Joyful Living. She says, let's imagine a friend, a constant companion who laughs a lot. This friend laughs at traffic, laughs at delays, laughs at long lines, even laughs at setbacks. Of course, this friend doesn't mock us or laugh at us when we're in pain. This friend is compassionate and gentle and has an open heart. But they help us laugh even when we hurt. This friend has learned the art of joy, the art of living, and the art of living joyfully. So the mantra we can keep in mind is let's bring along the friend who knows the art of joyful living to help us learn the same. With that, I wanted to let each of my friends introduce themselves and share a little bit about their loved one. And when they joined the small grief group, we do 6-week segments. Really, this is just a space for us to come together and share, what's coming up for us this week. So first off, I'll hand it off to Laura to share and welcome to the show.
Thank you. So excited. So my name is Laura, and my dad passed away in December of 2018. So it was just 7 years, a couple weeks ago. But when we did our group originally, it had been about 5 years. So yeah, I was a little bit further removed from the death than when our group began. Yeah, it has been really interesting to see how like the grief process kind of changes and shifts and evolves over time. So I know I'm sure we'll get into this, but one of the reasons that this group was so great for me was that I don't have that many friends who've lost parents, like almost none of them. But my one friend, she came over to my house shortly after my dad passed away. And I was like, is it always going to hurt this much? And she said, yes, but you'll have more time between the times when it really hurts, which has definitely been my experience. And I think I probably shared that with you guys just because it was helpful for me to know going in. And it's still something that I remind myself that those really hard moments will still come, but I get more space in between them. So
Thank you, Laura. All right, Dylan, would you like to go?
Yeah, my name is Dylan. My dad passed away in March 2023. And then I think we started our small group almost a year later, just under a year. And I think it's great just to be able to talk to other people and especially, people who have kind of been through, something similar. Like Laura said, like I don't have a lot of friends that kind of have maybe gone through the same thing, or, it just may not be, super easy to talk to them, or, you may not want to talk to them.
Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, I think you both called out. It's nice to have this space. It's a safe space and a container where we can share experiences and stories that each of us perhaps has experienced that maybe our friends haven't. So, or a support network. So, yeah, thanks for sharing. Amy, did you want to go?
Yes, my name's Amy, and my mother passed away in June of 23. Um, it was a very slow death. It was hard on the whole family. We all knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. And I had friends that I knew that had parents that passed away. I wasn't like close to them, but I knew. But this group was really helpful. Kind of just grieve and just and then about a year later my younger brother passed away.
Mhm.
And then after that after my mom's death, my dad um within a year my dad remarried a woman. I was we all knew the woman for many years. We didn't uh it was hard.
Yeah, a lot of changes within that year. Thank you so much for sharing, Amy, and I'm so grateful that we've had this space to come together and just be there for one another through the ups and downs as we've navigated this, journey. And we always say grief is non-linear, and so sometimes it is harder in different seasons. And I definitely feel, especially, I don't know what it is about a new year, but that just, I don't know, it's a really hard time because it's another year without our loved ones. Thank you for sharing, Amy. Sherry, would you like to go next?
I'm Sherry, and I lost my mom in October of 2023 and joined the initial Facebook group right after that. I was very, very raw when I joined the Facebook group. So when you offered the small grief group, I was desperate to have an outlet to have and some support because it was so overwhelming and so raw. And my mother had lived with us for the past 6 years, and my daughter and my mom were super close. So trying to help her navigate this loss. We lost our beloved cat 2 weeks before my mom passed. So, you know, like Amy and like everybody, uh, different circumstances. We all had different circumstances, but it just felt so comforting to be able to come to the group and share everything that I was feeling and know that even though the circumstances were different, everybody understood.
Yeah, it's this deep understanding that's not just the surface. Oh, well, I hope you feel better soon. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm in the trenches with you. I also feel that or have, felt similar. Thank you all so much for sharing about your loved one. One of my favorite sessions that we did was everyone brought a picture of their loved one
Yeah.
and got to share, one of your happy memories of them. And I thought that was, it just brings them to life because it's important for us to keep sharing stories of loved ones, and to keep their life alive in that way. And so I think it's so beautiful to continue sharing their story along our grief journey as well. And it also helps with us healing, right? I think verbally processing is something that is hard to do. And so in a space that's a grief group, it's wonderful because all the emotions do come up and it's okay. Again, it's a safe space. Um, we don't do recordings in the group sessions. Whoever shows up live is there live, and it's that container, and we all know it's confidential, and are just there for one another. So I'll open it up to the group. I'm interested to hear. So we have the Giving Grief Grace private Facebook group for anyone who has lost a loved one. So if listeners are interested in joining, feel free to find it on Facebook. And then we have this small grief group, which I usually host about once a year. And before you all joined the group, what did you think you were signing up for? And then how did that change once we started meeting? Because we meet once a week for 6 weeks. And so what was that for you? Is like going into it, and then once we were in it, how was that for you?
I don't think I had any idea what I was signing up for, if I'm being totally honest. But I thought that you were doing such a beautiful job of running the Facebook group. I was like, well, if Lisa's running it, it's probably going to be good. So I'm like, yeah, I'll sign up. It sounds like fun. And I was totally right. You did do a beautiful job of facilitating it. Um, and I came to really look forward to it, to look forward to that time where we could all kind of share how our week had been or what we were going through, or those kind of live questions. I know you and I have talked a lot about like having really young kids who our loved one is not there for their childhood, and like how do we keep, like you were saying, like speaking their names, like how are we keeping those memories alive? I don't have anyone else to talk to about that. So I was also, when you were saying what was your favorite session, I was like, ooh, I wonder what she's going to say. Because I know there was another one where you had someone do breath work with us, and that was fantastic too. I really loved that experience. I don't think I've been that relaxed since. So
I'm so glad you brought that up, Laura, because we're going to talk somatic breathing in February.
oh,
So
perfect.
stay tuned.
I certainly will. Yeah.
Great. Would anyone else like to share?
I don't think I had any expectations. I still was kind of in just shock, I think,
Yeah.
just not really knowing where to go with my grief. So I think when the group started, I didn't really know what to expect. When I lost my dad when I was in my 20s, I didn't do any grief support or anything around that. So I didn't really have anything to compare it to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but definitely got a lot out of the group sessions.
Yeah, was it helpful looking back to that period of losing your mom versus your dad, and that, yes, it's later in life, but now do you feel like you have more of the tools to
Uh,
move through grief?
I think this definitely helped. I would say I don't think there's anything that could have prepared me for this. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
worse than I ever even imagined. It hurts more than, I could have ever imagined, but
Yeah.
I do I do have tools now to deal with my grief, and I see how it's changed over the 2+ years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it does change over time. And I think that that's something that, it is
helpful to think about when we are in a season of really deep grief, knowing that this too shall pass. This is never going to go away. It's always going to be there because we loved them so much, right? There's so much a part of our lives and part of our being, and they will always be with us. And so the seasons of grief just change. And so know that you're not alone wherever you are on the journey, and there is support. Dylan, I'd be interested to hear from you from a perspective. I often reach out um, to males who have lost a loved one and said, "Hey, I'm here for support in any way," and would just be interested in your perspective of how it was being part of a group versus a one-on-one interaction.
Yeah, I think being part of a group is great because you can hear, other people's stories and you can kind of relate to what they're going through and it can kind of help provide like some perspective, for what you're going through, versus just one-on-one. So, um I think, you know, I mean, I think having like a small group is kind of the perfect size because it still feels personal and and but you can relate to what a few different people are thinking or saying.
Yeah, and I like that how you said it's the small group session makes it so that it's still personal, right? It's not this you're not on like Grief 101 with 100 other people. You're going,
Right, exactly.
yeah, yeah, I think that's helpful. Amy, while we were meeting, was there a moment as we were going through the meetings that you thought, okay, well, this is there anything that changed your mind of like, okay, this is helpful or this is part of my journey? Was there anything or a moment that happened during the group that you're like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm a little better?
Yeah, I mean, a good friend of mine, Tammy, suggested this group, and we had our one-on-one, and then we did our group, and it was really helpful to just learn how to grieve. It's okay to cry, you know, small groups, I think it really helped me in the process of grieving two deaths in, a year. So it was hard, but,
Was it easier being able to verbalize your feelings or just sit in the space?
even though after the meetings, I would just go off by myself and just grieve by myself or like talk to my mom
Mm.
out loud and kind of grieve that way. And then, this.
Yeah, talking to our loved ones too. I love how we all honor and cherish them in different ways. And sometimes that's a little mantle or an area that we have dedicated to them, or maybe a picture frame or something tangible that we have on our desk, or
Right.
it's just a nice way. It's like a drop of joy throughout our day when we come across that little space where it's honoring our loved one.
Hmm.
Amy, do I remember that you had your mom's holiday decorations?
Hmm.
Remember this? And you kind of took us
Uh-huh,
on the
around my house, yeah.
around your house. Yeah. Yeah, of your mom's holiday decorations. I really loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like such a fun way to keep the spirit, the holiday spirit alive and then also be connected through
Hmm.
their family traditions. We talk a lot about family traditions and carrying them on and then also changing them and having it be okay to start new traditions. Laura, we talk about having young children
Yeah.
and what does conversing with about the loved one and
Hmm.
our parents never got to meet our littles. And so what does that look like? And how do they show up in our lives in really unique ways? It's just an interesting experience that no one wanted to be part of. But we are all here together supporting one another. And I think that's the beauty. It's the beauty of community, right? And it's the beauty of vulnerability. I think that so much in our lives is surface air, like surface communication. And think about TikTok or Instagram, and they're just pictures and quick videos. And so to have an hour earmarked each week where we come together and we just talk about what's coming up is just such a breath of fresh air, especially when you're grieving. And so I'd love for anyone to speak about that if you're up for it. Laura, you mentioned it a little bit, but I personally find that when I am stressed out, I miss my mom more because I used to talk to her and call her and
Yeah.
be like, Mom, I'm stressed. Like let's talk through this. So this group becomes part of that
Hmm.
maternal support, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And we still have a little message thread open, and that continues to be so helpful for like holidays or anniversaries, or you and I just mentioned very recently that my 4-year-old has a lot of questions and I'm doing my best, but it's also like it makes me feel really sad um, when he's talking about how, you know, my dad, he's like, he's dead. I'm like, I know. I don't want to talk about this right now, but you had recommended some books, or, we check in on each other, and that's been super lovely that community feeling has continued.
I agree.
Yeah, having our small group. So we ended our small group sessions, and I think we may have met once more as like an anniversary, and then this is our second anniversary of after the ending of the live sessions. But we do have that small message chain, and I even have it with the first grief group that I was part of before I started leading. And again, I feel so close to those individuals because we were all experiencing grief together in that sacred container. There was that connection, and you just don't get that anywhere else. And so, for those listening, thinking, I don't know if I'm ready for a grief group, it's emotional. But you just come as you are and where you are, and that's okay. We all have emotion, and it's okay to fully express that. Any learnings that you took away from the live sessions when we were meeting together that anyone would like to share? Or like aha moments of, oh, I actually wasn't expecting this, but I'm now walking away with, now you're walking away with friends that like you didn't have before, which is really nice.
I think for me, I'm a super private person. I have my two best friends that, I'll talk about my feelings and grief with. Neither of them have lost their mom. So they're wonderful to talk to, but they don't completely understand where I'm at,
Yeah.
you know. So I would say for anybody considering doing a small group like this, if you're also a very private person, to be open to it, because it really became a lifeline for me in those first few months when I just felt like this is never gonna get better. But definitely, I so appreciate the support, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance. So
Yeah. Thank
yeah, so
you.
I'd just like to encourage anybody else who also may be apprehensive about joining a small group and being and talking about grief and your emotions, that it really can be a tremendous help.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to speak into that?
I'm a social worker, and I'm like a big empath, feel your feelings kind of girly. So I think but it did reiterate for me that how powerful vulnerability is, and how much more meaningful and like impactful the group was, because everyone came like ready to just like open their hearts
Mm-hmm.
and how lovely that was. So
Yeah. Yeah. Dylan, were you going to say something too?
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of tough for me to maybe remember some things, but I think doing activities that maybe you did with your loved one or doing things that kind of remind you of your loved one, I think those can be helpful for sure in just helping, like honor them and it can also help you maybe, kind of just get through some stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I'm thinking of the avocado tree and all the fruit that it bears and thinking about life and regeneration. And would there be any advice? And I'm thinking about, for listeners who are contemplating, okay, well, do I want to do an online grief group? Because this group is from all over the US, and know that there are local groups and there are support networks in every region. And so, it's whatever is going to bring your heart joy, or when you're in grief, it's hard to think about joy, but solace maybe, or bring that compassion and that vulnerability. If you don't feel comfortable meeting online, there are in-person sessions, there are
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one sessions. So I urge people to reach out. Sometimes the funeral director might have suggestions for you as well, because they really know the local grief support network and community. So would there be, I'm interested for this group to, if you have any words of wisdom for someone who has, and Dylan just spoke about this, of how you can kind of help process your grief and then also honor your loved one. But is there any advice that you might share with a listener who perhaps just lost their loved one or is in the process of saying goodbye to a loved one, as someone who has walked through this yourselves?
Mm-hmm.
ooh, I mean, you have to take such good care of yourself,
Mm,
right?
that's hard.
Um, and I think that was something that we talked a lot about was like, what does self-care look like? And I think that's why you had someone come do breath work with us, I suspect. Um, but yeah, I mean, we have to take such good care of ourselves, whether that's like we're making sure that we're getting sleep and we're drinking water, and it can be like as simple as that. You had mentioned about joy, and I think, Sherry, am I correct that when it was your mom's birthday, you did goat yoga?
We went every year for
Yeah,
Mother's
Mother's
Day?
Day.
for
Yeah,
Mother's Day, yes.
yeah. We
And
did
I was
end up
like,
doing that the first Mother's Day after
right. And like, how fun and silly and joyful. And like, here you are, you're honoring your mom. You're doing something so fun and silly. You're stretching your body. You're getting out in nature. Like, you're ticking all the self-care boxes. That's delightful. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's my biggest advice if you like are anticipating a loss or you're like really in the trenches, is to take such good care of yourself, and that it's really important to let yourself, it's like a balance, right? Of letting yourself sit with your feelings, but also it's okay to like get in your bed and put on some like really trashy television and just dissociate for a little while. Like sometimes your brain needs a little vacation from itself. And that it's really okay to do what you need to do to get through. And again, all about balance. Like if you're sitting in those deep, deep, deep feelings every minute of every day and you're never letting yourself have a distraction or a moment of joy, like that's not going to serve you. And if you're only partying and watching trashy TV, also not going to serve you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
balance.
Sitting in the silence is hard sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I might have developed a minor TikTok addiction. Trying to distract myself, watching funny videos and yeah. But I would say also to just let yourself feel your feelings. Just to survive in the beginning, you try to suppress that
Mhm.
so you can work and take care of your family and get through your day. Um, and then when it finally comes out, it's just you know, you can't stop crying and
Yeah.
but yeah, letting yourself feel whatever you're feeling and know it's okay. And definitely, like Laura said, take
Yeah.
care of yourself. And for me, I also found, and I still find comfort in telling funny stories about my mom. We have millions of them. So we still, the three of us, my husband, my daughter, and I, we still tell funny stories about my mom, keep her memory alive and makes us laugh. And yeah, those would be my.
And I love the stories of your mom. You know, I never met her in real life, but I feel like I know her from working with you. And yeah, what a fun, joyful
Mhm.
person. And you feel her light when we hear your stories of her. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Amy.
I just feel like what Dylan said about, do things that your mom or loved one love to do. And then like self-care, like Laura was saying, you gotta take care of you and just
Yeah, that's self-care. And it's hard, right? When we have children
Mm.
and
So,
there are lots of other things to do, or, we have a demanding job, or we travel all the time for work.
right.
mm.
And that self-care can get pushed to the wayside. So,
Yeah. So if you know someone who's anticipating a loss or has just experienced one, it's like very difficult to feed yourself in the beginning. Like just the thought of like making dinner just feels like the biggest obstacle in the world. So if you can bring people like that to me, anytime someone came over with like a pot of soup or our neighbors came over with clementines, like literally just a
oh.
bag of clementines. And I was like, oh my God, fruit. Yes, thank you so much. So yeah, food is love.
And you could put it in freezable containers. If
Yes.
they have some now, they could freeze it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that suggestion. So thank you, Laura. Dylan, did you have any additional?
Well, I think losing my dad, it kind of, changed my relationship with my mom, and, it kind of brought us closer. And so, I try to spend time with her and not take time for granted. Just try to be there for her and put her happiness and her well-being also, like, kind of give attention to that.
Yeah, and I love how you stated that changed your relationship with your
Hmm.
surviving parent, right? And how it almost makes you really cherish your loved ones, regardless of what age they are, and those relationships, because we know that there is an expiration date for everyone, and we never know when it's going to be. But we talk a lot about numbering our days and saying, okay, if we knew when our time was, how would we change today? And how would we change how we interact with our loved ones and with our colleagues and ourselves, right? And how do we make each day matter? And at the end of the day, can we be grateful for how the day was? So I'm so grateful for all of you for sharing the journey and being open to sharing it with our listeners. And I so value the time that we spent together a couple years ago. And I am grateful for the relationships that we've bonded and we continue to have and cultivate as we go through those milestones every year. We know that we're still here for one another. And so I think that that's something that's really unique and special. And so I'm grateful for all of you. So thank you, Laura and Dylan and Amy and Sherry, for sharing your stories and your loved ones' light with us. So grateful for all of you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Lisa, for
Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
facilitating. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. So
Yeah.
I was thinking about how I initially reached out to you. And like, so Lisa and I studied abroad together in 2008. Have not been together in person since 2008, but I saw on social media that your mom had passed away. And I sent you a message being like, hey, my dad died and this really sucks. And I'm here for you because, and like the reason that I was like inspired to do that was because like right after my dad passed away, an acquaintance, like a friend of a friend, like who I'm Facebook friends with, like saw that my dad had passed away and sent me this like lovely message, kind of the same idea. I saw that your dad passed away. I recently lost my dad. It's really freaking hard. And, I'm here for you if you want to talk. And it meant so much to me. And, we messaged a little bit back and forth, and that's what inspired me to reach out to you. So I guess what I'll also say is if you have the capacity, if you have the bandwidth for it, if you have experienced a loss and you know someone who is anticipating a loss or has recently, like, please don't be afraid to reach out and like let them know that you're there and that they're not alone. Because those connections like really can sustain us and makes a big difference. So
Yeah,
that's what I
thank
have
you
to
so
say.
much, Laura. I I love that you brought that up because I think about that all the time when maybe you're Facebook friends or Instagram friends with someone that you met years ago, or it's a friend of a friend and you don't really know them, but you kind of know them, but
Mhm.
you have that common thread and that simple message, like look at where we are today, right?
Yeah.
Having that reach out, like so grateful. And one of my book club ladies, I'm about 20 years younger than all of my book club ladies, and one just lost her mom, and she said, I feel like people are put into your lives in very unique ways. And I'm so grateful that you started your podcast because it's helped me
Mm.
through my journey. It's like, I didn't even know you listened. but, that's what this space is all about, is supporting people wherever they are, or,
Mhm.
in what part they are. So always reach out to people. If you get that if you have a minute to reach out to someone that is grieving. And I think also what's helpful is if you missed it and it was a couple months ago, even better,
Not
because
too late.
now everyone has done they're like, oh yeah, I said my condolences and okay, they're good now. But it's a couple months after that they need support too.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, as we've said, we could all use support all the time. So, keep
And
those.
connection, right? That's why we're all here. Well, that's my personal belief that we're all here to connect with each other. So
Yes, we're all in search of that love and
yeah.
sharing the space together. So, what a gift. And then Laura, you were also sharing before we started recording about support for all ages.
Yeah, so I am an elementary school social worker, and we've had a very heavy year in that since August, we've had 4 parent deaths.
Mm.
And it's been, I mean, really brutal for the children, the families, and like school community in general. And just coincidentally, today, I was on a Zoom with we have a local nonprofit that supports grieving children. So I live in Pennsylvania. It's called A Haven, and they run counseling groups for students who have lost a loved one, usually a parent, and they come into the schools and they do it for us for free. So those groups are beginning tomorrow, which is why I was on this Zoom today. So this one was the caregiver Zoom, so kind of letting the parent or guardian know like what they could expect from the groups, and why bother, like why should you do this. They already had all signed their permissions, but they talked a lot about exactly what we've all been saying, that it's so valuable for the students to realize that they're not the only one, to find some community and for them to have some tools to like take care of themselves, think about honoring and memorializing their loved ones, and to like look forward. Um, so yeah, it was such a coincidence that Lisa sent us a little reminder email. She's like, guys, don't forget we're recording tonight. And then today was when I was thinking about it in a different context. So
Yeah.
definitely do a little Google search, because there might be one in your area. And this program, A Haven, also does groups like at their center. They have a teen group and a young adult group, and then they have like groups for young kids, and there's a parent group that runs concurrently. So like the parents and caregivers can support each other while the children are doing, arts and crafts and work doing like more kid friendly stuff. So there is a lot of support out there. Just sometimes have to look for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. When I was doing my grief work, I was in Maine, and the Dempsey Center has a lot of support for all ages, for anyone affected by cancer. So,
Mm.
there's all sorts of support groups, and so you can look again in your local area. So thanks for sharing that. And yeah, Google is our best friends, and I'm so grateful that we live in a world where that information is at our fingertips. And so if anyone is having questions, feel free to reach out. You can DM us, send us a text, hello@lisahartung.com. You can email any questions. And if you wanted to jump on into the small grief group that we have coming up this spring, then feel free to shoot me a message. But thank you all again so much for your time. Thank you, friends, and wishing everyone a warm and welcoming January. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lisa.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. If you found the content interesting and think it could help a friend or a loved one, please share it with them. Subscribe to this podcast and get a weekly dose of positivity. And while you're at it, please leave a review. If you enjoyed the show and want to support me financially on my grief journey, I'm raising funds for Project Purple, a nonprofit whose mission is to see a world without pancreatic cancer. If you've lost a loved one and are looking for support in an online community, consider joining our free private Facebook group, Giving Grief Grace. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.